Just a sorry, sorry, you're making me laugh here. I'm like,
Yeah. What's
Hey,
that?
I just want everyone to know that this is legal medical marijuana, and I can show you my prescription if you need me to.
it's like
Oh, yo, YouTube. Welcome back to another episode of First Time Watching only on the Comic John YouTube channel. I, of course, am your host, your director of destruction, your coordinator of confusion, John Hassinger, and it is an absolute pleasure and privilege to have you joining us from all over the globe here on our Nerd Network for all the videos we post on this channel, hot take movie reviews, news briefs, first time watching, and yes, even trailer reaction videos. Now, you may be asking yourself, what is this show First Time Watching all about? It's easy. We pick movies we hold near and dear to our hearts and watch them, but for one of us, at least one of us, it's our first time watching. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell your grandmother, and make sure to ask her about her first time watching John Wick 2. Did she love it? Did she hate it? Has she not seen it yet and needs to have her own version of first time watching? Because last night was my first time watching John Wick 2, and I got a pantload of questions for my friends who are always joining us for every episode of First Time Watching, live from South Carolina, your Nicaraguan John Wick. CJ Monjadas. CJ, thank you for joining the drapes. The drapes looking a little drabby today.
Do they really? It's the weather outside, maybe. I don't know.
And also from the Palmetto State, my spiritual Harrison Ford. Andrew Benfer. Andrew, the beard is almost gone, but the background right now is just radiant.
Seems like I trimmed it at the wrong time because all these temperatures are dropping now. Now my face is a little chilly getting outside. Might have made a bad decision there.
Well, luckily you can grow it back in no time like we've all seen. And guys, so last night I saw John Wick 2 for the first time, and in my opinion, this movie is just a gem of an example of a sequel that is part of a bigger picture. Enhances the mythology, grows the characters that have returned from the original one. It actually, and this is something I love that hardly any movie does, but when they do it, I think it's so cool. They kind of close the first one and then start the second one, like in the second movie, you know, like they make peace with the guys from the first movie, and totally leave it wide open for a third one and beyond, because at the very end of the movie, we see he's on the run. So I just enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought it was such a compact, just great little sequel that just keeps the story going. The ramifications, or, you know, whatever is going to carry from the second one into the third one is the rules.
With these kind of movies compared to what we've reviewed in the past, I mean, it's pretty much, let me just see the next guy get beat up in a really creative way. What John Wick's motivations are, I think the exciting part is, I mean, you're absolutely cheering for him continued through this, right? And we see at the beginning of the film just why the car is so important, for example. You know, what's his motivation there? Where is he going? So I just think it's a really fun, like you said, I mean, it closes the first chapter into the first movie, but it wasn't one of those like cliffhangers off the first, right? So it wasn't like Netflix making you watch the next episode because they didn't really finish the first one. It was very well done. And again, and I mentioned it in the last episode, I think I may have blended the first 10 minutes of this movie in with the first movie when we were reviewing it last time.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned the whole burying his weapons back again and kind of trying to get back to a normal life. But I mean, this movie starts right off the bat where he's all right, I've taken care of the problems with my dog being murdered and this guy, you know, taking my car. Now I'm going to go pick up my car. And again, we saw why it was so important to him. We saw that, you know, we saw the scene of him and his wife on the beach, and that was the only thing we really saw. But that was enough for us to understand why it was so important, because of, you know, it was a time he had with his wife, and it was in that 5 years of freedom that he had. But holistically for the film, I thought it was just a lot of fun. Can't find, you know, Cornelio will probably have some prettier words than I will for it, but I just thought it was exciting. I just thought it was a whole lot of fun.
It's my favorite well done trilogy, quadrilogy, whatever it's going to be after the fourth one, because as much as I'm a you know, my favorite growing up movie, the Matrix series, I loved it. That's what made me become a Keanu Reeves fan. We can agree that, for example, for me, the third movie is not my favorite. I can watch Matrix and Matrix Reloaded Reload is my favorite one. I think the second one it's better. We talk about Star Wars. We're not gonna go there again. It's the first and only trilogy that all three movies are good. Now you haven't got the chance to watch the third one, but you will agree. The second one, there's no slope. You can see a lot of movies, a lot of histories. The first one is great. Then we forgive the second one. Everybody goes like, the second one, we're gonna go watch it because we love the first one, but we know the second one is like a good orchestra, like a good piece of music, is going to have a little bit of downtime in the middle, just to get you to calm down, just to get you to take it in, right? Maybe ground the story, and then the third one is gonna come and close it. No, this movie doesn't let out from the beginning of minute one of the first one, and second one continues with the fight scenes, with the story, and I think you're right. It's crazy how the second movie starts, but it ends the first one.
Yeah.
Burying in concrete the weapons and cleansing himself again. It's perfect, and there's closure of the first one, but it continues on the second one, and the plot of the first one is simple enough to introduce you to this character that is badass as can be, and then they expand a little bit on the plot on the second one, but it doesn't. They did not say, hey, you know what, the second one is gonna be the past, it's gonna be the passive movie. We'll use it to ground the story and to calm everybody down. It's not. Usually, sometimes second movies don't have as much action as the first one. Or if they do it, it's just not done well. It's a little bit too fast. It kept the same pace. It came the same quality of the fight scenes and the characters as well. And then you introduce the new characters, and you want more of it. You want more of it. You don't feel that this is a second movie. This could have been a first movie on its own.
Before the first act is over, actually, like as it's ending, he's burying all his shit and covering it in cement and retiring. It was almost like Endgame, where like they kill Thanos in the first 20 minutes and you're like, what's gonna happen now? Like, I know there's more to this movie, but it seems like it's over. Now, if this was a part of the first one, it went over my head, as was Ian McShane's character's like importance. The idea of this marker, those little medallions, that this dude shows up at first who seems like a friend, and he puts that coin down, and he's like, I need you to do something. I need you to go kill my sister.
I know.
Anyway, it was like this whole underground community with all these rules of assassins, right? I mean, is that what I'm taking away from this? Like, Ian McShane's character is like, he's like Dr. Ford from Westworld. Like, at one point, everyone stopped at the end and like looked at him.
Well, remember he said to Winston, his character's name's Winston. If we're talking about, yeah. So, I mean, we saw in the first film where he said to him, hey, you dip as much as a pinky back into this pond, you really might not like what reaches back out and actually grabs you back from the depths. And we saw that, he came in to this world to satisfy this thing, thinking that, all right, well, I'm going to get in and get out. But that's obviously not the case, and that's where we saw that marker of like, all right, well, now whether this would have still happened or not, who knows? But we know that that's what kind of like tugs the story along. Like, clearly somebody's going to come out and require something from him with that marker. And I am personally really curious, and I don't know. I know Cornelia mentioned before where it sounds like there's going to be a spinoff. I don't know where the third movie gets into not just the rules, but what do the coins mean? What is, we know what the marker is because they get into that. There's a whole nother system here that I think, like the vagueness makes it more interesting. But I still have to know more. Like, I want to know, like, are these coins favors? Is it because like you're putting contracts out, on people that have monetary value, but then you still have coins and you still have these medallions. Like, there's just something else going on here that I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, and it goes deeper into that in the third one, John, and you're actually going to see a little bit more of that, of the rules of, like Fight Club. What's the number one rule of Fight Club? Is nobody talks about Fight Club. And with introduction to the medallion and introduction to him calling out a favor, is that when John decided to retire, he had to do something to be able to get out. You can't just one day say, hey, I'm the biggest assassin, the best assassin there is in this very secretive society, and I'm just gonna go ahead and live a happy life and retire. Not only you know a lot of secrets that probably people don't want ever to come out, but you also a big part of this organization.
Some red on your ledger.
And you talk about this guy coming in as a friend, and I think we talked about this before. A lot of these people are not his friends. They will kill him in a heartbeat, and we see this in the second one, right? They really don't care. It's about the money. It's a
No
business.
honor amongst thieves.
But there is respect for the job. There's respect for the craftsmanship. And when John leaves, he is taking a lot of that honor system that we can tell he does. He does have an honor system. We talked about this in the last episode. He does the right thing, even though the right thing is maybe kill somebody, but he follows the rules and he does the right thing. And I think people respect that of him. They know that if you're not in his list, you can be sitting with him and having a coffee. And if you make him mad, this is not the guy that's going to pull out his gun and kill you.
Right.
Right. He has an honor. He has a code of honor, an honor code or code of honor, whatever.
Yeah.
So
a code.
So when he comes back and like Andrew says, all of a sudden somebody see him going around, he's telling everybody, I'm not back. I'm just trying to get my car back and bench my dog. It was an opportunity for a lot of these people to say, okay, you know, this is normal. This is normal for us now. That void that the society had is being filled by him being back. And this guy was just expecting for the right moment.
Seeing John dip back into this for the revenge of the dog and the car, you know, was one thing. We knew that, you know, the whole time in the first movie, it's like, are you back? Is he back? Is he back? And of course, he has that one moment in the first where he's like, you know what? I've been getting this question a lot. You know what? I am back. Yes. But then we still see that, like, near the end of this, like, it's kind of tapered out. We mentioned that he ends up burying his stuff again. But even though he lost his first dog that his wife got him, the whole purpose behind the dog he kept, because he adopted the other dog when he was mending himself in that vet's office. Like, he wanted to still move on. He still wanted to be out. Even though he didn't have his wife, he knew that the only coping way was finding something that he could still love. So he adopted that dog. He was still trying to be out of it, regardless of how tempting that world is, how sticky that world is that it pulls back in. He knew that in honor, especially of his wife, that he just wasn't where he was anymore. So to get pulled back in, I think is where I think honestly, one of the reasons why we start seeing him maybe go against his own code, even in some parts of near to the end of the film itself.
Is the story really about John Wick, or is it really about this other world that this guy created underneath him? I love how his dog doesn't have a name. Like, it's almost like showing you that, like, just getting the dog for him was probably such an emotional, like, oh my God, you know, like, I know I got to force myself to do this. I got to get a dog. I need some living thing to, like, take care of. But, like, all the emotion. So he's, like, even thinking about a name, like, he hasn't even gotten there yet. That was so good. I thought that was such a cool part, because they remind you, you know, no one says, what's his name? They always say, does he have a name? And he just says, no. There's two standout moments, maybe three standout moments in this movie. It really got me excited and kind of was like, it was like in the middle of the second act when, like, everything starts rolling, because this guy gives him the marker. So he's got to go kill his sister, some queen or some royalty in Italy. And he buried all his weapons. So he has to go, they, like, set him up with a weapons guy, a wardrobe guy, and like a blueprint, like, schematic guy. Those three characters in this, like, montage of him getting ready was so awesome. Like, the bulletproof suit that he got, it's crazy. The guy's like, yeah, it'll stop everything, but it's gonna fucking hurt.
I love the efficiency of John Wick that we see in a lot of ways, not just his fighting style and the way he strategically, for example, set all the guns up through the catacombs, right? But even more like, I'm going to go to my safety deposit box. I'm going to get my other things out of here, because it's not like he just had his stuff just at that house. It's like, let me go gather this cash that I've got here in Italy. He's just super, super efficient. There's no dust in
Yes.
John Wick's house, right? It's just
Right.
it's very meticulous.
It was so cool when he was down under those tunnels because, earlier in that montage, that guy is showing him maps of different places that he'd have to go. And he's like, there's 7 exits here, here, and here. And you could tell, like, when shit got crazy, he would disappear down into those tunnels and kind of like get away from everyone. And another standout performance in this movie who just blew me away because I hated him through the whole movie, and I know that was the purpose of Common. The fight scenes just went on and on. Now, that wasn't Common the whole time, was it?
No.
Okay, stunt double.
Yeah, definitely. Common doesn't do his stunts. He's not Tom Cruise.
I didn't think so. Yeah, he's not Tom Cruise. He's a lot better.
It was really cool to finally see John with an equal. Not that he'd been fighting peons. I guess in a lot of scenes, yes, they were peons, but seeing him actually fight this guy and individuals, like when the contract, for example, later on gets released, like seeing him against other actual like assassin types with a little bit of struggle. Again, we see some of that human, that non-invincible side of John, specifically in this fight. But the whole back and forth between them, like the not bromance but bromance, like professional courtesy kind of back and forth, like that was
Batman Superman in a conflict. Yeah, it was like it almost was like Rey and Kylo, like they just kept hitting a standstill.
We see how the rules apply and how meticulous a lot of these people are, but I mean the sister, that was a tough scene for me. Anytime there's a scene where someone's taking their own life in that way, I forget what's that show on Netflix that cutting
13 Reasons Why.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't think that scene exists anymore, but I saw it when it did, and it is.
I saw it when it did. Yeah.
Super difficult to watch. This wasn't as bad, but it was still pretty challenging. But I mean, it kind of shows you how complex that world is and how backstabby it is. Like, all right, my brother's trying to take my chair. I'm gonna choose to leave on my own terms.
There's like her understanding of like the situation is so like absolute, like, well, I'm gonna die anyway, so fuck them, I'm gonna die right here, no one's killing me. And
she wasn't mad at John. I mean, she still was flirty with him in this moment. Like, I get the situation you're in, you got the marker. Like,
they said something, he said like, oh, I once considered you a friend, and he was like, and I still do.
Yeah.
You guys were talking about Common being, kind of like an equal to John, and I feel that she was probably the one that got the closest to beating John because of taking her life, right? He has to kill her before, and that's why she shoots her before she actually dies. So he can go ahead and fill the marker, right?
Right.
But she was this close to really fuck him up. For him, fulfilling this is his freedom, and that's the life he wants. For him, this life of assassin is dead. Being free and retired with his dog is life. And she got this close to actually killing him in a philosophical way, not in a real way, by not allowing him to fulfill the marker. So I think that in the whole movie, the best adversary, it was her. Because, come on, he can kill 20 guys all at once. He can kill 3 guys with one pencil. But the freedom that he needed by fulfilling the marker, she's the only one that almost took it away. So,
well, yeah, I mean, if we're talking technical wins here, she won. She beat him because he didn't do what he was supposed to do. Now, I'm kind of drawing a blank here because he shot her in the head, but then why did he just come back and kill, the guy who gave him the medallion because he was mad at him?
The brother is a real tool. I mean, even Winston said, I can't believe you had a medallion with him. Of all people for you to have set this up with, why would you work with this guy? Like, you should know better, John. Shame. But we saw that when he kills his sister, now it's like, all right, well, I got to take revenge out on you because you just killed my sister. And it's like, are you freaking kidding me? I was so frustrated in that because it was just like, you 2-year-old? Like,
yeah, I know.
You killed my sister. No, it's like, oh.
But you already asked him to do this, so then John just killed him first.
Well, it was just, he had to get back to him because that would, I guess, inevitably ended up ending the contract. I actually don't remember. Was that how the contract ended up ending? Was that he ended up killing him? Well, actually, I guess I don't want to get too far ahead before we get to the end. I may be remembering something wrong. I guess the contract, it never actually ended, did it? It was open the whole movie. That's what the whole point was.
I consider that the only way that John was going to find peace was getting rid of this guy, because this guy is not, first of all, he's completely disregarding a rule. He fulfilled the marker, and now he wants to tie, his loose ends by killing John. First of all, it's dumb. So he knows already, like, dude, you're dumb by trying to kill me out of anybody. And two, I fulfilled the mission you gave me. I fulfilled the marker. Why you said that now you want to kill me? So I saw it as John understood he needed to take care of him for him to find peace, because if not, this guy's going to keep putting $7 million contracts on him.
It's almost like maybe because he forced him out of retirement, he's allowed to kill him, but because he did it in that bar, remember, it was like you spilled blood in a sacred place, so now you're excommunicado. And then they've got that, like, that 1950s, like
call center.
Connected. Yes,
that was amazing. The rotary dial phone was at one point. We saw the computer screens that was just like more evidence.
From the hatch.
The Matrix, not the Mat. I thought Matrix when I saw that. But yeah, Hatch also, I could see that. But I loved how analog that stuff was, because it's under the radar of everything else.
Right. They all ring up to like their text, to their cell phones. Another moment that it was the moment I went, what? I actually, spoke out loud. These other moments, like fighting with Common and the whole wardrobe weapons map guy montage, I didn't make a noise, but when Morpheus, Lawrence Fishburne, makes an appearance on the rooftop feeding pigeons like Mike Tyson, what is up with his character? Like, are we going to learn more about his character in the third one? Because it felt like they have a history.
He is in the third one.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know, because that was such a awesome scene and such a cool idea. Just hide with a homeless man, like no one will see you if you're ever on the run in the daytime. What does he say? Take me to him, tell him it's John Wick.
I find it really funny that in this scene, John's stuck in the train station. Neo stuck in the train station.
Yes.
And can we also talk about that? Like, there was a lot of like really good action in this film, obviously. But the most difficult to watch was where the dude got his nuts cut. Did y'all catch that scene? It's right before the homeless guy. He's fighting. He goes down in the train station, and there's the two guys, and he approaches them. He shoots both of them, but they're still fighting him, and he ends up pulling his blade out, and he goes between. I mean, I'm just telling you, that was.
I remember now. I'm
difficult.
I don't remember that
super difficult. I hate to keep rewinding back, but there was another scene just before this that I thought was really awesome. It was when what is his name? His name's Common, is that right? I'm sorry, I actually don't know. Okay, I don't know. The whole silent battle leading up to the train station. Yes. The silent guns through the fountain, the silent guns in the train station on the two different levels. I don't know if you guys have seen The Other Guys, and they have the silent wrestling scene, and the guys are like, get him, no, get him, get him. So, like, that's all I was thinking of. So I was laughing the whole time of this scene. It's just like,
I like that. Walking on either side of the hallway, they were just like.
And everyone else is oblivious. They're just like walking through. I mean, the fountain, that people saw what was going on, a couple of them, but that scene was just really awesome. Their whole back and forth, the professional courtesy of. Was this the same scene that he did the professional courtesy, or were they on a train again?
Gosh, that was like, they were like back on a train. He's like, it's in your aorta. If you pull it out, you'll bleed and die.
Considered a professional courtesy. But anyway, leading up to Fishburne, that whole scene of, just take me to him, the efficiency of the crazy homeless guy ranting and raving, and then pop gets the two guys and, takes him in. Fishburne's character in this, what's his name? Do we know?
Morpheus.
When they're talking, he talks about how John Wick gave him a choice also, of which, if we think of the Matrix, he gave him a choice of red pill, blue pill. John Wick gave him the choice in this one, and I don't actually know that I fully understood what the choice was, but he shows like the wound on his neck, and I guess it was probably one of those professional courtesies of like, hey, this is what your wound is. if you want to, stop this fight and go live, here's your chance. And then this is what allows the king to be. He actually says, essentially, he's all-seeing and all-knowing, which I thought was kind of a fun Oracle plug. I'm just really grasping at straws for these two to be connected in some kind of multiversial way.
I forget what he said too, but it was something about like he almost killed him but didn't. So he's like, because I lived, or I'm very important. In the comment section, please remind us, how did John Wick help Morpheus in John Wick 2? What was his explanation? Please, somebody. It's bad green tea. So I noticed something. A lot of the score sounded like the guy who did the Daredevil theme song from Netflix. I don't know if you remember the beginning, Andrew, where it's like, the blood like dripping down and it like forms the character. Yeah. Dun, dun. There's like a lot of piano and electric guitar. And I didn't look it up. So in the comments section, look it up and let us know. Thanks. Obviously, the huge moment at the end where Winston kind of slaps his penis on the table and says, here's how much, I have. Here's how much I'm in control of. Where, like, the entire park area, like this big open park area with there's steps and there's, like, walkways and there's areas to sit and chat and areas to play hacky sack and, like, drum circles. And all of a sudden, he says some, cue word and everyone stops and looks at him. What the hell is that? Is there more? Do they get into that more in the third one? Or is that just something that they just completely skip over?
You will see on the third one, one thing I can tell in the third one is that you'll see more of that, where like the homeless guy, you see that you're just walking through next people and at the end of the movie, I think we can go talk about this now, when he's excommunicado and everybody gets the order to kill him for the 14 million, and all of a sudden every cell phone lights up.
Yeah.
Like everybody's, pretty much on that scene is part of this world. You see a little more of that on the third movie, and also because they go through different scenarios in the third movie. They go to other places.
Isn't it insane? Like, this movie, highly touted and advertised as just a, rock'em sock'em, bang bang action movie with Keanu Reeves. When, like, there's this, like, really weird, cool, interesting mystery, like, just, like, slowly growing from underneath it. Something I never expected to get into with this. I really just thought it would be, like, Taken and, somebody just keeps getting kidnapped and he has to just keep killing people. Like, there's not this interconnected little, like, secret society.
It's this society and these assassins and this group of people are well embedded in society, and society is well embedded in them. And I like to believe that society trusts them, that places like the Intercontinental Hotel, their council, controls them, and everybody follows the rules, and that allows them to be within society. That's why cops are well aware of it, and they let them do their thing because they feel, hey, it's a code of conduct, and as long as they manage their code of conduct and follow the code of conduct, will be fine.
Some of the things I thought was really cool, and I started kind of dipping my toe into some of the fan theories. We saw in the first film when Miss Perkins decided to try and kill John in the hotel, right? And then the 4-man firing squad actually took her out in that courtyard, or just before the courtyard. And one of the things that's interesting about that scene is, like, that's not how firing squads operate. Like, they don't stand on 4 corners to shoot at them. Some of the theories and assumptions is that this culture and this group exists very, very far back. An execution scene like that, where at all 4 corners, would have actually been the use of blades, not guns. So they said, basically based on this, I mean, it's not hard to imagine at that point that, they're just extremely old. It'd be really cool to one day to also get like a John Wick 1776 or something like that, just to kind of go that far back to see how old this actual hidden world is, or this underground world actually is, just based on that.
You have to assume that it's centuries of years old. You have to assume that as this civilization grew, this came with it from the beginning, because for them to be so embedded, for it to be so advanced at the same time, so rooted into society, it had to be from the beginning.
It's almost like they're from the future.
Or from the past, whatever you want to see it. It's you have to be a couple hundred years old to have that kind of discipline and those set of rules so well embedded and respected and follow.
Well, think about it. If you're from the future, you could just travel back to the past and like just redo everything because you already know what happened.
Time is irrelevant in the Matrix.
Well, guys, that is all I have here. That's all I really wanted to get into, I believe. Well, actually, now that we're talking about it more, I'm so excited for the third one because I can't wait to see how they expand the underbelly of just the John Wick assassin. There's so much underneath. There's so much more to it.
The second one stands alone by itself, but this is a movie you enjoy all three of them together. Right. So I remember the first one, we're like, oh man, you had to watch the second one and third one, to see it. Andrew, you haven't seen the third one yet, you said, right?
Yeah, none of it, not at all.
So you guys, It's gonna be the first time for you guys at the third one.
Right.
So a few things about the third one: trained dogs, assassin dogs, Halle Berry.
I saw some of their training, their gun training on YouTube. I tried not to watch too much of it because it did have some scenes from the movie. But I think that one of the things that makes this such an amazing film is that Keanu Reeves, I was about to call him John Wick, like he's just not even Keanu anymore. He's just John Wick. That's who he is all the time. But like he's doing all of his own stunts. He's done, all of his, Cornelia mentioned it in the last episode we talked about just how serious he's taken firearms training. Being critiqued. And, when they went in to do the second film, the gentleman that actually helped them with the firing and fight scenes was like, he's like, well, how do I help make this movie better? And they're like, you need to make Keanu Reeves better, like even better than he was. And they pushed him into each of these films. So it's just really awesome. I think Keanu Reeves is easily the best trained gun user. I don't like saying it that way. There's probably a better way to say it, but he's one of the best gun handler actors in the industry.
Oh my gosh, yes, so natural.
Like a real one too, not just.
It doesn't even matter what size or shape.
More hotels. I can tell you right now, and I think they already mentioned this before. The movie doesn't end.
Right. That's what the second one barely ends. He's like running away.
Yeah, no. This one, it immediately, unapologetically, they let you know that there's a fourth one coming because just the way that it does. Plot twist. Pretty much everything we have said in these first two episodes gets thrown out of the window.
It's like irrelevant, right?
You're gonna see this one thing that happens. You're like, oh, this is completely out of the window. Like, really?
Like nothing applies anymore.
More swords. You probably, if you see the trailer, you will see that there's more. You use more swords. Yeah.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm. And then how long are we gonna have to wait for the fourth one? A year?
May 2021.
I think so. Yeah.
Dude, 2021 is going to be the most insane year for movies. Oh my gosh.
This decade, it's already loaded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's for sure.
Another random. I'm just going to keep peppering in random fan theories while we're finishing and wrapping this up. Somebody else had a theory around this saying that this is actually part of a video game universe. Because if you think about how this film's laid out, it feels like levels.
Dude,
you're leading up to this next thing, and then you're leading up to this next thing. Like, it feels like a video game.
That is exactly what I thought. Like, it felt like a video game. It got harder and harder.
Yeah, that's what she said. But The Mandalorian, I think, did an even better job about the leveling up because we got to see him, like, upgrade his armor, and then the next episode, it's the jetpack.
Even The Mandalorian, we had a couple of shows that we commented in which it slowed down, right? There was one episode that I was actually concerned about the show all of a sudden because it just.
Which one?
Was it 3 or 4?
The one when they're riding the speeder bikes?
No, the one with the jail.
That was like episode 6. That was the one with Bill Burr.
I can do without that episode. Back to the quality of John Wick. There's no slowing down on this one. There's nothing wrong on the plot where you say I can get up here right now and go take a dude. You don't. You know what I mean? You don't want to miss anything of it.
Take a what?
Dookie. And then I just realized, I said,
just take a duke. He could have
Because
with the
I
killed him with the
regretted
Duke.
saying the word in the middle of it, so just stop right there.
That's all I could think about was the pencil. He could have with the Duke. The pencil. I'm sorry. I'm going crazy at this point.
That'll do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for watching. First time watching John Wick 2. Next up, hopefully we'll be able to do this next week because I want to watch John Wick 3 so very badly. I'm probably going to watch it in the next couple of days, probably before the weekend's over. Either way, if you are new to the channel, make sure to like, subscribe, check out all the other videos we do. Tell your grandmother. CJ, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you, brother.
This is the new segment. I say bye to you guys. Andrew, as always, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And I love you.
Bye.
Oh, hey. Make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment and hit the notification bell. And if you're finding me for the first time, I do trailer reaction videos, hot take movie reviews, news briefs on anything Marvel, DC, Star Wars. You'll love it. Thanks.